For more, we're joined by the co-host of High Noon, Bomani Jones, who is one of the main voices in this new 30 for 30 about Michael Vick. Bomani, take us back to the early 2000s. Michael Vick was drafted #1 overall 19 years ago in 2001. He was a big deal. How much excitement was there about the potential in his career?
Man, like, you kind of have to walk this back to the Sugar Bowl in January of 2000. Like, this is a time before we had literally just about every single college football game on television. So Michael Vick could be a Heisman Trophy finalist, but you had people who had not seen him play. And then he comes up against Florida State, and for 3 quarters, he beat them by himself, right? It was him and a bunch of dudes who played for Virginia Tech, and somehow against one of the best football teams of all time, they were ahead until he just completely ran out of gas at that point. And so that led to a building action. That was the 2000 season where his fame started to build, and then you get to the 2001 draft. And look, Michael Vick is barely 6 feet tall, and running is the biggest thing about him. He's got this great arm, but the big thing that lit up about him was the speed that he had. And so there was not a quarterback that we had seen with his particular skill set. And as I recall, he was the first black quarterback to be drafted #1 overall. Like, he was a revolutionary figure, the idea and application of him the second he walked across that stage.
Why does his story still matter? Why is it worthy of a 4-hour treatment such as it's getting now?
Well, part of it is just kind of the athletic excellence. And for those of us who were there in the time who remember how mind-blowing it was just to see him for the first time, and remember, for example, that 2002 season where you just couldn't believe anybody could do that in the NFL. Then, of course, we add to that what wound up being the fall for him. And the fall was beginning before we found out about the situation with the dogfighting, right? His career in 2006, he had gotten all the money, but he was not playing well at that point. He'll tell you that I ran for 1,000 yards, but as a passer, he was probably as far regressed as he had been at any point in his career then. So then after that, we had the situation with dogfighting, which turned into this giant national scandal that I, when it first happened, did not realize was going to turn into what it was. I didn't realize what an emotional flashpoint this was for America. So we have that, maybe one of the biggest stars in the NFL at that point has now been one of our most salacious scandals. And then we have from there a tale of redemption, at the risk of sounding cliche, where he had to work his way back. He got back to the NFL, but Harder was going to be working his way back into the good graces and basic decency that we associate with this society. And the work that he put in is a story worth telling.
And Bomani, it is, as you said, still an emotional flashpoint. Hundreds of thousands of people, more than 700,000, signed a petition online protesting the NFL's decision to honor him at the Pro Bowl. What does that say about where he stands now?
Well, I think it says where he stands with a particular group of people. I think those people who have paid attention to what's happened with Michael Vick since he got out of prison understand that he has probably been the biggest advocate for dogs since his release that there has been, beyond what was required of him after he was released. He kept doing visits and kept going to schools and kept talking to kids after that point. He can't go back and undo what was done in the first place. But I think for some people, this is an unforgivable thing. There is no redemption for that. For others, I think they're able to look at him and see what has happened since, and they believe that someone like him should not be defined by the worst thing that he has done, even if it was a continuing enterprise. And so I think there are going to be some people, because dogs are that important to them, that is something that is in their hearts, that are never going to be able to let it go. But I also think it's fairly impressive and somewhat surprising now, 11 years after he got out of jail, that he's in enough of good graces that the NFL would think about inviting him there in the first place.
Still a lightning rod. Bomani Jones on Michael Vick. Bomani, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.